We've talked about what motivates, but motivation is much more complex than knowing the right reward. So now we're going to take a look at how we are motivated. Imagine I came to your office one day and I said, I'll give you $1 if you sing the Irish national anthem in full, in Irish, in front of your colleagues or friends. Chances are most of you wouldn't take me up on it. Why not? Most of you would say you don't know the Irish national anthem in full in Irish. What if I then changed my request and said you can sing any song you want? Most of you would still say no. Why? Because $1 is not really enough of a reward for singing in front of your workmates. So what if I said, listen, I'll give you $1 million. Still, I can't hear anyone singing. Why? Because you don't really think I'm going to give you $1 million. And this is expectancy theory, one of the most supported theories of motivation. Expectancy theory has three components: expectancy, valence, instrumentality. Expectancy is the likelihood that you will achieve the result if you try. So I asked you to sing the Irish national anthem in full, and you knew that no matter how hard you tried, you could not do it. Your expectancy was low. Instrumentality is the likelihood that you will actually get your reward if you perform. You knew that I wouldn't really give you $1 million, so your instrumentality was low. Valence is the value of a reward. $1 just wasn't enough to motivate you. It wasn't valuable enough. All three need to be high for a person to be motivated. To see what that means in your world, we need to examine each of these in more detail. When we are thinking about expectancy, that's the can I do this? It's important for us to recruit people who have the right skills and knowledge to do the work, and then to train them and provide sufficient resources. But let's think about some other factors that affect the answer to that question. It's really a question that reflects our self-efficacy, our belief in our ability to do the work. How can you as a leader increase self-efficacy? We develop high self-efficacy when we reflect on past success, so we can help our employees think about their success in similar roles and circumstances. We can also maybe give them simpler component tasks that they can master on the path to a more complex work. Self-efficacy is also higher when we see others similar to ourselves performing well, so we can point out similar successful people. Our own efforts at persuasion can also be useful, especially when we show a link between our employees' skills and the likelihood of success. Another important aspect of how we answer the question, can I do this work, is related to our understanding of our goals. That is, what we're supposed to accomplish. Specific, difficult goals are very important for our understanding of what we have to do and how much effort we have to devote. This is true for all kinds of jobs, from call center operators to scientists to bank managers. But we do reach a threshold. Goals that are too difficult reduce motivation because we no longer believe that we can achieve them. Goals do need to be achievable. Obviously, the goals that we set for our employees have to be relevant to the work they're required to do, and they should include a time frame. But we also know that an important aspect of goals is their meaning. Our goals have to engage or excite us. They need to be intrinsically motivating. One of the most important implications of this is to involve people in setting their own goals so they have a sense of ownership over these goals. Let's think about this idea. How could this work for you? How could you involve your employees in setting their own goals? Do you use the SMARTER model? Next time you're working on a team project, think about using this model for the team's targets. It's also important to review whether or not goals are achieved, and this means they have to be measurable, which is particularly important for the next step in expectancy theory, that is instrumentality. That's the question, will I get rewarded if I perform well? This suggests that we need to think about how employees are rewarded when they've performed successfully, clearly explaining the outcomes that result from successful behaviour. This doesn't necessarily need to be through performance-based reward systems, such as bonus systems. You can do this by pointing to the promotion of a colleague who's performed well, for example. When you are thinking about valence, that is the question, do I value the rewards? We can begin by thinking about people as individuals. Ask them what they will value. Not necessarily financial rewards, it can be recognition, being on a particular project, being trained to do a different role. It's also very useful to think about the motivation theories that we've covered earlier. For example, two-factor theory suggests that we need to pay very close attention to the work itself and the sense of achievement and meaning that employees get from the work. When you are thinking about the value of rewards, it's also important to know that people are motivated or unmotivated by what they perceive as fair, and this is often determined by comparing themselves to others in a similar position. Most people will look at the work that they have to complete and their rewards and compare this to the work that other similar people have to complete and their rewards. If they perceive inequity, then they're likely to be unmotivated because the value of their rewards will be comparatively low. There is support for equity theory. Think about this. Baseball players who were underpaid for 3 years had a lower batting average, which picked up again once their wages returned to the equitable level. So we as leaders need to be really aware that our people will make equity comparisons, and it does matter. How do we design the most motivating job? We are going to pull together everything we've learned to answer this question. First, we'll look at the aspects of motivation that we need to consider, and then we'll revisit some of the most important factors, engagement and meaningful work, and how we really build these. When we're designing a job or thinking about how we can make a job more motivating, leaders need to consider the following questions. What is our goal or goals? Goal theory tells us that we need to make sure they're specific and challenging, smarter, and involve our employees in the development of goals. Two-factor theory tells us that goals are more motivating when they're meaningful or contribute to meaningful outcomes. What feedback will be built into the job? Expectancy theory tells us we need to make sure that employees will know when they've achieved their goals, preferably through the work itself, such as customer satisfaction or a completed product. How will we make sure that people believe that they can achieve their goals? Self-efficacy theory tells us that we can build motivation by increasing confidence in our capacity to succeed through training, looking at past successes, learning from other people's behaviour, and adopting a learning orientation or a growth mindset. How will employees know when they will be rewarded? Expectancy theory tells us that we should be really clear about how rewards will be allocated and when and why they will be rewarded. What rewards will be used? And how will you make sure that rewards are valuable? How will you make sure the work itself is motivating? Four-factor theory tells us that we should consider individual differences in our rewards where possible, and we should also consider opportunities for choice at work, in the work we do and the way we do it. Skill development and social relationships are also really important. And equity theory tells us our rewards have to seem fair. Answering these questions is an important part of making sure your employees are motivated. I have a challenge for you. I'd like you to think about a project, and it could be yours or it could be somebody who works to you, and apply this framework. Ask yourself, for example, are the goals specific and challenging? And was I involved in developing them? Are they interesting and meaningful to me? Do I feel confident that I can do what I need to do? How will I know that I've really succeeded? And what's going to happen once I finish this project successfully? How will I be rewarded? Is this a motivating job? Job characteristics theory goes a little bit deeper into what we can do to motivate through the design of work. Using this model, we see that work can have different characteristics that make it more or less intrinsically motivating. The first is skill variety. Does an individual need to use different skills, different expertise to complete a variety of different activities? This is the opposite to repetitive work, which we know isn't motivating. The second aspect is task identity. That is whether a job allows an employee to complete a whole piece of work and see the outcome of their activity, rather than perform a small part of a larger project that has little meaning in itself. The third is task significance. This is a person's belief that their job is important for the organisation or beyond. For example, when President Kennedy visited NASA in 1961, he introduced himself to a janitor and asked him what he did. The janitor replied, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." Autonomy is the fourth characteristic, providing freedom, independence, and discretion rather than micromanaging. And finally, job feedback. This reflects the capacity of work itself to provide information so that the employee knows that they're doing well without the supervisor providing direct feedback. Together, these characteristics increase meaningfulness, give a sense of responsibility and a sense of achievement, knowledge of what employees have accomplished. So how can we as leaders design this type of job? We can design jobs so that an employee has more responsibility for tasks such as planning, scheduling, and coordinating. Basically, we're giving employees some of the responsibilities usually held by supervisors. We can also provide our employees with the opportunity to develop customer relationships and the discretion to respond to customer requests. As well as increasing autonomy and skill variety, employees are able to see how their work affects the customer, which increases task significance.